Hello and welcome back to Let the Credits Roll podcast with another short today. As everyone will probably know, we've recently had Amazon Prime Day. And with Prime Day came a lot of deals on films that while I was at work, my wife went a bit crazy and got a shit ton of films. So I thought, we'll use a short. I'm going to rattle off these films and I'll say, which ones I've seen, which ones I haven't. And I just want to get Rob's view of them. We'll get a little bit of an insight on a short look of what Rob thinks of these films in a sentence or two. Good, bad, shit, whatever. It's just a random set of films that we've got.
That sounds good to me.
All right, so I've got a big ass pile here, and at the top pile is the Cornetto trilogy. So we've got Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. I've seen all three.
Wasn't a fan of The World's End, but I've only watched it once, so maybe I would change my mind on a revisit. Watched Shaun of the Dead recently, still holds up, but out of the three, I'd still say Hot Fuzz is my favourite.
See, I disagree. I think Shaun of the Dead is by far the best. Hot Fuzz I enjoy. I've probably enjoyed it more on multiple viewings than I did when I originally saw it. And at World's End, again, I've only seen it once as well. And I felt, it's all right, but maybe on more viewings like Hot Fuzz, I'll appreciate it a bit more.
Maybe it's one we revisit, The World's End. Maybe it's one we revisit.
Maybe we'll give it a little bit more of a chance. But Miranda hasn't seen Hot Fuzz or World's End. We both love Shaun of the Dead, so I was like, we're going to get that one just because
Hot Fuzz for me is just fucking classic. Like, it just is.
I know. I feel a lot of people like Hot Fuzz the best. I find that mad, but yeah. Anyway, next up is John Carpenter's The Thing.
Again, a classic. It is brilliant, and it also is a remake as well. It's one of the better remakes.
Yeah. That's one good thing about this list is for once people are going to see that I have actually seen some films, because there's some big classics on here like The Thing where I have seen it. It's one of those films I actually watched with my dad.
Speaking of The Thing, they really need to bring out a 4K of the I think it's 2011. It's the prequel, because that is actually a good film, and it ends
I've seen that one as well.
It ends right when the original thing starts. It's really good.
Yeah. I definitely have seen that, though I don't record it as much as I do this one. Next up is Rob and I actually had a bit of a discussion about this one already. Probably be a whole podcast on its own, but it's the Back to the Future trilogy in 4K.
Again, we had a little bit of a discussion about this before we hit record, and Liam doesn't think that this one is as iconic as people think it is.
I think it's iconic. I just don't think it's as good as people think it is. I think it's good and I enjoy it. It's just I feel like it gets given maybe a bit more love than it deserves, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Like I said before, I think it depends on how old you were when you first watched it, I suppose, and whether you grew up when the films first came out. I think the third one's the weakest of them all. But like I say, I can't think of a better family-focused time travel set of films. Like, every time travel film that I can think of is like, more of a 15 to an 18, like an adult orientated. So I think it stands on its own in that regard, but each to their own.
Yeah. I agree to most of that. I just don't think it's just on its own as good as people say it is. Next up, it's probably a bit of a more of a Miranda one, but again, a classic, and again I've seen, is The Wizard of Oz in 4K.
You know what? I actually don't mind Wizard of Oz. It is quite a it's a classic after all. It's a classic. Although there is like some like
1939.
The stuff that happened on the set, like if you look into it, was like a little bit dodgy, but I guess that was the time.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, it was like loads of
short summary.
I can't remember off like the top of my head, but like the working conditions and like there was a lot of like things that wouldn't be acceptable in this day and age, that's for sure. And then obviously
Flipping
for
30s,
for
yeah.
a long time there was like the urban legends that in like the background of like one of the scenes you could see one of the dwarfs or whatever, like the little gnome people hanging themselves in the background. But apparently it's just
What?
like yeah, it's like uh an urban legend, but also there is like a big phenomenon sort of thing where people say if you listen to the Dark Side of the Moon album,
Oh, yeah.
that it all fits together. So it's got a little bit of mystery around it.
Well, yeah, maybe we got more out of that than I was expecting. Next up is the Halloween 4K collection from 1995 to 2002.
Yeah, all the shit ones basically. Yeah, that's not much more I can say about that. Halloween H2O, the only decent one from that collection. Halloween Resurrection, absolutely fucking bonkers, where Busta Rhymes tries to like karate fight Michael Myers at the end, like just nuts. Uh, Now the two Halloween films that you won't have in 4K because they aren't actually in 4K as far as I'm aware
Uh-huh.
is the Rob Zombie Halloween films, and they are like, oh, I think they're really fucking good, but a lot of like Halloween fans, like traditionalist Halloween fans, hate him because like he sort of took the core foundations of like Halloween and just made it into his own, and I think they're really good. Like they have like a unique style, but I'm waiting for them to come out on 4K because those are my favourite ones besides the originals.
Yeah, well, I've only ever seen the original because I haven't seen them at all. And I think around last Halloween, Miranda loves all these films, all these horror slasher films, even the bad ones. She'll love them just because she likes,
Yeah,
that sort of shit.
sounds like
So
Liv.
I will, yeah. So I'll be going through them all at some point anyway, and whether they're good or bad, she will want them. So she bought them.
Halloween 4
Um,
is probably my favourite beyond 1 and 2.
and that's good. At least I've got those to come first before I get to the shit ones. So maybe I'll get some hope.
Oh yeah,
And then next up,
if
oh god,
I was gonna say from Halloween like 6 onwards, like you struggle to find positives, really. You will definitely
they're just milking it, yeah, milking the franchise.
milking it, but also taking it in some really fucking weird directions.
I guess you've got to try and come up with something new, and something new they did because the next one is the Halloween trilogy, and I think this is the three most recent films in
Oh
4K.
god. Oh god.
You weren't too positive about the first set I just mentioned, and it gets worse.
I don't mind Halloween 2018, which is the first of like the newest ones.
Those three, yeah.
Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Halloween Kills, I think, if you're just in it purely for like the kills and like you don't really give a shit about the story, you probably it's got some positives to it because it is quite a brutal film. Halloween Ends like is a really weird one. Like when you watch it, I'm sure you will come to understand what I mean. Where like it essentially is like the swan song of Halloween, but like doesn't involve Michael Myers at all. Like for like 90% of the film, it's a very weird film. I'd like to get your opinion on that when you eventually watch it, because me and Liv watched it, and throughout the entire film, I was on mic to Liv, and I was saying, "Is this actually a Halloween film? Like, what is going on? Like, is this actually a Halloween film?"
Yeah, well, I think when I finally watched all these with Miranda, maybe you and I can
The
have a
Halloween
Halloween
retrospective.
chat, and yeah, maybe we'll get some quotes and comments from Liv and Miranda just to sprinkle
Oh
in there.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, keeping on the theme of these horror slasher classic and recent not so classic Halloween films. Next up, I've got the Nightmare on Elm Street collection, all 7 original Nightmare films on Blu-ray.
I like Nightmare on Elm Street, although you do get to a point, I think, from maybe like 4 onwards. Like 7, I think, is New Nightmare, which is a 4, 5, and 6 are like very much horror comedy in the sense of like Freddy Krueger is just all about the fucking jokes when he's killing people, right? But
Right.
the original Nightmare on Elm Street is actually like positioned as like quite like a menacing figure, and the same. And that now Nightmare on Elm Street 2, when you watch these, when we watch Nightmare on Elm Street 2, there's so much controversy around Nightmare on Elm Street 2 that there's even like documentaries about Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and I'd love to go through and talk to you about like the drama surrounding that film because
It'll be a
it's unlike any other Nightmare on Elm Street film. That is a one of a kind.
Well, I think like Halloween, we're gonna need a Nightmare on Elm Street retrospective.
Yeah,
I'll watch those with
absolutely.
Miranda. We could just have a chat. Maybe we'll watch that documentary together and then have the chat. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
But
definitely.
uh, again, more Miranda's type of films. But you know, I'll get to see him now. A true classic that I have seen and introduced to me through my father is Jaws, the original Jaws on 4K.
Jaws on 4K is I don't actually own it on 4K, but it is meant to be what they call a reference disc, where like the quality of the restoration is like top notch and like is the one
Oh,
of the ones to get. It's always talked about as being fantastic, and Jaws is
that
just a
makes me even
fantastic
more
film
excited
anyway.
to rewatch it. Yeah, I fucking love Jaws.
I think they've
I
just
think I've
brought out
seen
Jaws
the
2 as
second
well on
one.
4K. Jaws 2 is good.
I
I
think
watched
I've
that a
seen
while ago.
2 later on. I can't really remember any of the later Jaws. Like, I feel like I maybe watched them here and there when they're on ITV or
Jaws 1
something.
and
But
2 are good. 3 and 4, you don't need to watch them.
yeah, I will though.
I think
You know me.
Jaws 4, if I remember right. Now, this is actually a genuine story in the film, and when I tell you this, you're going to be like, "No way, that can't be real." But I'm eh, now I'm basically sort of like going off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure this is how it goes. Is that in Jaws 4? I think Jaws 4 is called Jaws the Revenge, and the shark actually like follows the family to a different town and has like it is some sort of like telepathic thing where it's like it wants revenge on the family. So it follow it honestly it's mental.
Yeah, that sounds really shit. At least like in the films, it's just a shark being a
I'm
predator
sure
and
Michael
sort of
Caine's in that
attacking
one,
random.
I'm sure Michael Caine is
Yeah,
in
I'm
one of
pretty
them.
sure this is one of those films. I feel like I've heard like it's one of these films that he just he's either said he did it for the money and that's it.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know why,
he certainly wasn't in that one for the art of the film, that's for sure.
but just from what you told me, it does sound terribly awful. So maybe we're gonna have like well, we've got loads of shit we can do. We can have a Jaws retrospective as well.
I'm
But
100%. It's called Jaws: The Revenge, and I'm positive that the shark like remembers the family or something like that.
I'm opening it up. On the on the picture, it says this time it's personal. I
Do you
just got
know what
this
I mean?
idea
It's
of this
just mental.
shark in the bottom of the ocean, just going, "Oh, I really hate that family. I really want to get them." It's like going into protective mode to
It's just
find out where they've
yeah,
gone.
it's just absolutely mental.
It's like some Finding Nemo shit. Like, oh god. Well, it's funny how these films can go from ultra classic to the worst shit ever.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Next up is Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange
A
on
classic, that
4K.
is. I've only watched it a handful of times. It's not a film, I would say, that you can just like throw on a Sunday afternoon and watch. Like, it's a heavy film, that, but it's a good one.
Yeah, it's one I've heard of as well all the time, and I don't think I've ever actually watched it.
It's a
So
really, really good film, though. Like I
yeah, I
say,
look forward to watching
it's a
that.
heavy watch. It's a hard watch, but it's good.
Well, one I haven't seen, so maybe we can do a pod on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Going on a bit longer than I thought. Next up is in 4K Poltergeist.
Poltergeist, good. Probably a little bit dated now, but it is good. And obviously, there's the whole urban legend about Poltergeist. I don't know if you know about that.
No.
Basically, like a majority of the actors that were in Poltergeist, like, all died in like
Oh God.
the years, like in recent years after like the film came out, and they all like died in like ways that you probably wouldn't expect them to. There's a whole thing. Obviously, like it's embellished a little bit, but they did genuinely all die. Like
Well,
the little
that sounds
girl
ridiculous.
in the little girl is in like 3 Poltergeist films, but I think in like the third one she like died before it even released. I think I've not watched it, but like I think like when you watch it you can tell like she was pretty much dying as they were making it, and she was only
What the
like 13
fuck?
or something.
That is some weird shit. Well, if I watch those, maybe we'll have to have a discussion on those. Maybe around Halloween, we can have a load of Halloween
Yeah,
retrospective
so
specials.
sounds good.
Because I'm going to need a long time to get through the amount of shit they've managed to milk on some of these franchises. Next up is
uh,
another massive film I've not seen, The Shawshank Redemption.
you know what? I've not seen it either, and
Ah,
that's a Stephen King film, book that is as well.
yeah. Yeah, we've just been talking about Stephen King. Rob's starting to read some of his books,
Oh yeah,
so on target.
I've gone big on the Stephen King books. I've got like 20 of them.
Yeah, well, there's one maybe we both haven't seen. Maybe we'll cover that at some point. And now, well, this technically is going to be 9 films, but I've got the Alfred Hitchcock Classic Collections 1 and 2. So we've got Rear Window, Vertigo, Psycho, The Birds, Saboteur, Shadow of Doubt,
Yeah,
The Trouble with Harry,
I
Marley,
really want
Family
to
Plot.
get Volume 2, but again, you over in America get all the fucking good deals, and I have to scrounge. I have to work my ass off to find a deal. I do.
Well, there, this was what, 9 films, so $70 on a pair. So that's pretty good value, I think.
Volume
Um,
2 is like a lot of the lesser popular
yeah,
films, but
yeah,
I quite like Trouble with Harry. I've seen a couple of the other ones, but I couldn't tell you much about them. And I think they are bringing like rumors of a Volume 3 coming out.
mm,
With like Rope and stuff like that, which is a good film. So hopefully, when that comes out, we could maybe have all 3 of them. And obviously, North by Northwest is another Hitchcock film that isn't released in 4K because it's not done by Universal, I don't
yeah,
think. But I'd like to watch that. I've got that at some point. I'd like to watch that. So we'll have like a whole how
yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock like thing.
We'll have to, yeah, I think we'll have an old Alfred discussion.
I
All
mean,
righty, yeah.
Vertigo is. Well, I think a couple
Yeah,
of years ago was voted as like one of the best film of all time or something like that. It's fucking good,
yeah.
that is.
Pretty much all the films in that first one I've heard of, and they've got big names attached to them. The second collection, I don't think I've heard of any of them. The Family Plot seems to ring a bell. I'm not sure why. I don't know if you brought that one up before, or I just know of Family
No,
Plot.
I don't think I've
I
seen
don't know
that
why
one.
it's ringing a bell.
Trouble with Harry, I've watched.
But yeah, the second collection I don't really know anything about.
Yeah, like I
And
said, those
then
are the Westerners.
yeah, and then I think finally the last one is the Stanley Kubrick free film 4K collection with The Shining, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Full Metal Jacket.
Again, 2001 is meant to be like a reference disc as well. Full Metal Jacket is just a great like war film. Shining, again, Stephen King obviously doesn't like the um, the way the film, the way it covers his book, but it's a classic horror in itself, like just on its own. I'm looking forward to watch that one with you.
Yeah, I do want to. I think Full Metal Jacket. I've seen. I mean, I remember at least the first half, so I just can't really remember the second half for some reason. So I
I've
know I've
seen Full
definitely
Metal
sat
Jacket a
down and
couple of
watched it.
times, but I
The
couldn't
one
tell you
with
much about it.
the crazy bald-headed guy, right? Shoots himself in the head. That's Full Metal Jacket,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I pretty much always remember up to that half. and I never remember the second half. That's the only half I remember.
Yeah, I think most people would say that that's all they remember as well. To be fair.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to watching those again. And Miranda's a big horror person, wherever it's good horror, bad horror, slashy horror. She loves all that shit. So now I'm married, and we've got our own place and settled down. Like I've made her go through classic British history, like Fawlty Towers, Only Fools and Horses.
Oh,
She's making me go through this shit.
you're getting the horror history now.
Yeah, that's it. I gave her British history. She gave me horror slasher crap. Um,
Yeah,
well, it's a bit
crap
unfair.
being
So I
the
feel like
term.
I'm giving her good stuff, and she's giving me stuff that starts off good, and then it's just
I mean,
milking it for shit.
I feel like you you're gonna have some opinions on those later films, and you're gonna have some thoughts, and I'm excited to hear those thoughts.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll have the time to go through these. Anyone actually listens to these? If you've got thoughts on any of these films, let us know.
Absolutely.
Right,
Well,
there you go. There's the rundown. That went on a bit longer than I thought it would. So
you
a
know,
little bonus episode there for you.
I'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.